Fringe Radio, your trusted source for the paranormal, conspiracy theory, and true crime. Coming to you live from the Mistopheles Studios, it's Dark Fringe Radio. Letting me in.
Welcome to another edition of Dark Fringe Radio. I am your host, Will Martinez, and thank you for joining us on another adventure for this week on Dark Fringe Radio. Tonight, we actually have a very special guest. His name is Reverend Shawn Whittington, and he is a reverend out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and we talk about his story of how he became who he is and what he does now. And he has performed Exorcists in the past, and he's actually featured on a new show on the Travel Channel called Legion of Exorcists. I implore you guys to definitely go check that out. It's on Discovery Channel, Discovery Plus, and also on Prime as well, I believe. But nonetheless, he was featured on the show, and he gives his testimony, and we get into a really interesting conversation. So I hope you stick around and check it out. But just want to remind everybody again where you can follow our show. You can go to our website, darkfringeradio.com. That's where everything is at. We have all our episodes that are uploaded there every week. There's actually a lot of new news articles that we post there, some paranormal stuff on there as well. So make sure you go ahead and check that out, darkfringeradio.com. And you can follow us on all social media at Dark Fringe Radio. We're everywhere except for TikTok. I haven't gotten to the TikTok thing. Not sure about that. Nonetheless, you can check us out there. Also, I want to remind everybody, our YouTube. We've seen such a great gain in our YouTube in the last 30 days. Thank you so much for you guys checking that out and finally, exploring and checking that out and becoming a subscriber, which is really huge. So really appreciate that. That's it. You can go ahead and check us out in all those places. Make sure you like and share and all that stuff. We really appreciate it. Again, we'll be getting into our interview here with Reverend Shawn Whittington, and we'll be getting into all his adventures and how, he got to where he's at now, and being featured on the show, which is a great show again, Legion of Exorcists on the Travel Channel. Make sure you go ahead and check that out. We'll be getting into our interview here right now with Reverend Shawn Whittington. I hope you guys enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Dark Fringe Radio. I am your host, Will Martinez, and today we have a truly extraordinary guest with us. His name is Mr. Reverend Shawn Whittington. Reverend Whittington is not only a respected clergyman, but also a renowned exorcist, specializing in the age-old practice of expelling malevolent spirits and demons. His work has garnered international attention, and he's here today with us to share his insights and experiences with us. Today's episode is going to take us on a very cool journey into the realm of the supernatural, exploring the very real and sometimes unsettling encounters with forces beyond our comprehension. From confronting ancient spirits and demons to offering solace to the tormented, Reverend Whittington has seen it all. In our conversation today, we'll delve into his personal experiences, the challenges he's faced, and the profound impact these encounters have had on his own spiritual journey. He is, of course, the host of Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live 2.0. He's the instructor of Shawn Whittington's Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. He's the author of God, Ghost, and the Paranormal Ministry books 1 and 2. And you can find all of his information at ghostbegone.biz. And of course, if you haven't, you can see him on the Travel Channel show Eli Roth Presents Legion of Exorcists, streaming now on Discovery Plus and Max. Welcome to Dark Fringe Radio, Mr. Reverend Shawn Whittington. Rev, thank you for coming on the show.
How are you, brother?
Awesome. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm great. How are you? I mean, amazing to have you.
I'm blessed. And things couldn't be any better. I'm alive. I'm blessed. I'm in the seminary, and that's coming along fine. And I'll be traveling to Louisville, Kentucky in November to be ordained into the diaconate. And then
Oh, wow.
if all goes well, I may be fall of next year, I may be ordained into the priesthood. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
very happy about that. And life's
Okay.
good. The wife's healthy, and
Good. Good to
we're
hear.
both hanging in there.
That's awesome to hear, Reverend. And I've spoken to you before on another show, and I know a little bit about your history and your past. But if you could tell our listeners here on Dark Fringe Radio a little bit about your background, what led you to become a reverend, what led you to into this life and to doing what you're doing today.
Well, I like to tell people that even today, I wake up every morning and I always pray that I never have to take authority over another exorcism again. It's very scary, very ugly, and when it gets to that point, it's a matter of life and death, and it's just really not fun at all.
Mm.
I also like to tell people I got basically drug into this field kicking and screaming, then wake up one morning and say, I want to be an exorcist.
Right.
But my wife, I saw spirits when I was a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got my first up close and personal encounter with one when I was spending the night at my older sister's house. She was babysitting me, and that kind of put me on the path to just ghost busting and ghost hunting a little bit and stuff. I spent many, many years kind of hiding that passion from my friends, because as a little kid, I thought, if I come out and tell people that I like to do that, I'm probably not going to have any friends. So I didn't really, I regret that now. But
Right.
then, when you're little, those kind of weird things you thought you did that were weird that nobody would accept, you kind of kept it on the down low. But now I fast forward many, many, many years later, my wife and I are actually set up on a blind date, and we both don't know it. But immediately there was a connection, and I knew that she was sensitive to spirit. She had a passion for investigating the paranormal. And it was just, we started Ghost Speaking On and started doing it. But we just planned on it being just a fun thing, a hobby, a fun thing to do, go ghost hunting, go to these haunted locations and go to paranormal conventions and meet people and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we worked a very ugly case one day, and I know I'm going to get hate mail for this, but we didn't know what we were doing, and we used a Ouija board. And I believe the Ouija board opened up something that allowed what was at this location to attach to us and come home and follow us home.
Wow.
And it took up residence here in the house for about 2 months. My wife was the one that was the primary target of the attack, and I didn't know what to do. So I reached out to the paranormal community, and God bless them, for once they came through for me. They introduced me to my then mentor, who's now retired, a female exorcist, an ordained female exorcist, who took me under her wing, walked me through how to fight this thing and get it out of the house. We accomplished that. It came at great cost, though. My wife was left with 3 very rare forms of cancer, and she wasn't expected to survive. So I gave up everything to just help her fight for her life for a few years there. But my mentor saw something in me that I didn't see in me, and she said, I think you're being called to this ministry, and if you're interested, I can put you through the Christian University course on deliverance ministry and get you ordained and get you into this association of exorcists I belong to. And I was scared, and I almost said no, but I'll tell you why I said yes. Because I wanted, if it ever happened again, I wanted to know what I was doing, and I wanted to be ready.
Oh, yeah.
So I jumped into that course and got through it. Had a couple of other cases that were very ugly that even had me drop out of the course and drop out of the ministry for a while, because I was like, I'm done. Yeah. But I got back into it. I finished it, finally got ordained. And then the rest is, how they say, history. And
it's history,
I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. It's a great story. You also have your ministry as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What your vision, what your mission is with your ministry that you have going on right now?
It pretty much is, well, in the very beginning, I'll be honest with you, it was just to be, have fun.
Right.
But we almost immediately started getting bombarded, especially here in Vegas, with people that are having true paranormal issues. And something about this older couple that didn't have this big team with 9 black vans and $5,000 worth of equipment coming to their
LiDAR equipment, right? Yeah.
Something about her and I appealed to a lot of people, and we started going and working cases in homes and helping people. And immediately when we started actually helping people, we realized how rewarding that was. Um, and then that's how it started. It was just to continue on helping people with their paranormal issues and help them get that extra unwanted guest out of the house that is there
Yeah.
that's you know uh,
Afflicting them or
freaking them
something.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of
And
course.
so that was it. But the whole deliverance ministry thing
Mhm,
basically came out of nowhere like gangbusters, and
mhm.
it decided for me that that's what I was going to do.
You were going to do. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I get it, man. That's awesome. And I'm so happy that you've continued to do this. It's probably been 4 years since we talked last. Um, you've had a lot of things happen, actually, personally with yourself. You've had a show come out lately. We're going to talk about that. But before we get into all that stuff, what are the most common challenges you think, Reverend, that most people face in their spiritual journeys? And, what do you do to help them address that? I know you talk about your ministry. What do you do when you go into a house and there's something afflicting these people? Sometimes it could be maybe self-inflicted, maybe it's something mental, maybe it's maybe not be spiritual. How do you navigate those waters when you go into a place?
Well, the demonic doesn't have a particular kind of target. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
up for game. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
that kind of guy you're going to see standing on the street corner on a box with a sign that says "Repent now, the end is near."
Yeah.
Thumping people in the head with a Bible.
Right.
And I don't like to try to convert anybody. I lead by example. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people come to me that don't believe in anything, atheists, if you will, that are being tormented and have an attachment. And I just tell people that they're everywhere. Everyone's a target, and even if you don't believe in God, you better just try to be the very best version of yourself as you can be every day. Live in love and light. Treat people
Mm-hmm.
as you would like to be treated. Don't be a bad person, and don't throw things out into the cosmos that may get you in trouble, because these things play by rules. And I hear people all the time say things like, religion's not for me. I would rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. Well, you better
Mm-hmm.
be careful what you wish for.
Right. Because you just
Um,
might get it. Yeah.
so I go to these homes. There's quite a procedure. The people reach out to us at first, and sometimes I'm not the guy for them, and I'm the
Mm-hmm.
first to realize it and admit it. And if I know that that's the case, I want uh, them to have closure to their issue. And if I don't think I can do it, I try my best to introduce them to somebody that will really be able to help them. Like if a Jewish person reaches out to me, I try to find them a Jewish exorcist. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I've had people from every religious walk of life or belief system reach out to me for help. And
Mm-hmm.
usually they go to their church first and they don't get help there, then they come to me. And I try to help everybody, but if it seems like they're not ready to 110% jump into the deep end without the floaties on and believe in what I'm trying to do for them, then that can be more harm than help. And
Right.
I will try to find somebody that I think is more suited to them. But it's a process. They call us. I do a phone interview.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have my wife do a follow-up phone interview. Then we
Mm-hmm.
send them an intake form. And I
Mm-hmm.
require everybody in the house, if there's more than one person,
Mm-hmm.
get together as a family unit,
Mm-hmm.
fill out this form together. It can take 2.5, 3 hours to fill out this form,
Oh,
but they
wow.
need to do this. Send it back to us. My wife and I will read it. Her and I will discuss again, and then we will decide on how we're going to proceed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my hands are usually tied if the person is honest with me and tells me that either themselves or someone close in the family has been clinically diagnosed with a mental illness and under the care of a physician and on medications. I
Mm-hmm.
usually can't proceed past that. Even I've
Right.
many times reached out to their doctor and talked to them, and I've even had doctors tell me, between you, me, and the fence post, this doesn't leave
Mm-hmm.
this conversation, but I
Mm-hmm.
do believe there's something more going on than their mental illness. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, for legality
Prevent.
reasons, I can't give you the green light to go in there, you
Right.
know, holy water bottles ablazing and do your thing, because it's just not going to end well.
Right.
So that's the sad part about it. And it's also sad if a lot of people reach out to me for help, but they expect me to just come in and wave a magic wand and make it all go away, and
Mhm.
that they don't need to do anything.
Right.
What people don't understand, and I try to really get them on board with, is that it may not seem like it, and I may seem like I'm totally talking out my you know what, but people are the ones that truly have the power to
Mhm.
take their life back, turn their life around, and get this thing out of their home. They are the
Mhm.
ones that truly have the power. I'm basically there just to put my arm around them, help them draw their line in the sand, and help them stand up against this bully.
Mhm.
And if we can work together, that's usually almost an unbeatable team. Not
Mm.
always, but
Right.
I really need the help of the client that's under attack.
So it's definitely a reciprocal type of a thing that you're talking about, that
Absolutely.
person has to have faith in at least what you're doing that's going to help
Absolutely, and be
them.
willing to do what I ask them to do to help.
Hmm.
I live in. There's a reason why this town is called Sin City. I get a
Hmm.
lot of prostitutes,
Hmm.
strippers, people that are
Hmm.
strung out on drugs coming to me,
Hmm.
and if they're not willing to stop doing that part of their life, I'm not
Right.
judging anybody,
Hmm.
but those types of lifestyles attract the demonic and attract malevolent entities and
Hmm.
malevolent non-human entities and just that bad vibe and other people that have attachments. When you're in that line of work, those types of people magnet towards you,
Right.
gravitate towards you. So you've got sometimes you have to totally change your lifestyle and maybe even move.
Mm.
And sometimes people aren't willing to do that, and sometimes it goes on for years, man. Every 6 months I hear from the same person. I've
Mm.
tried 5 exorcists since you, nobody can help. I've called 10 who don't even want to try to help me, so now I'm back at you. What are you going to do? Well,
Ugh.
we've already gone down this path two
Right.
years ago, and you didn't want my help. You didn't want to
Hmm.
do what I asked you to do.
Hmm.
See, I'll try to, I don't turn my back on anybody. I then offer my help again, but are you ready this time to make a change?
Hmm.
Sometimes they say, sometimes I can tell it's a no, even if they don't say it. Sometimes they want to and they say yes and they try, but they fail. And then these things come back like gangbusters, and it's
Right.
really, really ugly and scary. And that's
Mm.
another thing I want to tell people. If you decide to really put up the fight for your life against these things and get your life back, then you've
Hmm.
got to watch what you do from that moment on, because they're watching you forever after that and waiting for you to make a mistake again and let them back in, and then
Mm.
it's just really, really ugly.
Mm. Interesting. So there's obviously a lot of things that we do in our life to kind of allow this stuff to kind of
Without
enter
even
our
knowing it, brother.
without even
Uh,
knowing it. That's what I'm saying.
Without
Right.
even knowing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the scary part because we're just thinking we're just going and living through life, right? And we're just doing these things and we don't even know it. You know what I mean? That's the scary part. But one question I wanted to have ask you, Reverend, is what's the difference between a demonic oppression versus possession? Is there a difference?
Actually, there is. You can move
Okay.
into a place where there's a malevolent entities,
Hmm.
demonic entities attached to the property or the home, and you move
Hmm.
in there, and you can be the kind of person that is able to fend them off of actually um, getting to the point where you can be possessed,
Hmm.
because it usually doesn't happen overnight.
Hmm.
I've seen it happen quite quickly, but usually doesn't happen overnight. But you can see the signs coming, and if you can recognize the signs, you can nip it in the bud, as they say. If you don't recognize the signs, then it's a gradual thing, and the oppression is what they do to you over time. It's um,
Hmm.
doing things to not allow you to sleep. So you start getting
Hmm.
tired, and then your health starts failing. Then with sleep deprivation comes, your thought patterns are out the window, and then you start hallucinating, then you start thinking you're crazy, then you just start doing things you normally wouldn't do, maybe drinking more, maybe going to drugs, um,
Hmm.
and then it's just a snowball effect. Your whole
Right.
life turns into the way they want it, and then they start manipulating you. They're not in you, but they're so in your life and on you. They're like the worst of the attachments that you could ever get. Like if just a ghost attaches to you at a ghost hunt, that's one thing. But when the demonic attach to you, when they leave that attachment from the property or the home onto the person.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, even demons don't want to be in hell.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to be in you. And
Right.
right now, we're a lot of colleagues in this field, colleagues of mine in this field, we really believe, not all of us, but some of us really believe that there's another level now that we're seeing called complete integration, where the unclean spirit has gotten into the body. It's not a traditional possession to
Mm-hmm.
the eye, but they're in there. And as time goes on, if it's not addressed and taken care of, eventually this unclean spirit pushes the original soul out and they take over the vessel. And now you have these living, eating, breathing, walking around demons in a human body. And you can
Mm-hmm.
see some of the evil out there now in the world that people are committing on each other that I have never seen in my life.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not like soldiers in war. It's
Right.
just like people, wanting to kill each other on the street because you were walking on the wrong side of the street, or you
Right.
accidentally bumped into them, or you were wearing the wrong shirt, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you don't have the same skin color as them. But it's not a racism thing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
demonic thing. It's
Right.
way beyond just, you know, uh, how people feel towards one another. It's you see people committing true evil on one another, and
Mm-hmm.
because society and mankind all over the world, it's so simple, man. We've gotten away from faith. And you don't have to believe in the same God I believe in or be Catholic, but trust me, most people know that there's a very low vibrational malevolent force that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the yin and the yang, man. There has to be a much higher vibrational power of love and light watching over us that you can ask for help and pray to and attach any name to it that you want. It doesn't have to be God or Jesus or the Holy Trinity or anything like that. But try to tap into that source, that love and light source, that
Mm-hmm.
positive source, and do some praying and just be a good person. Try not to do exactly what you know the demonic would want you to do, because basically they're just spiritual psychotics,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they want to make you behave. And so
Right.
we fear that that's going on now more and more, and that's a very scary thing.
That's interesting because that kind of reminds me of the movie Exorcism of Emily Rose, because seemed to me like there was a point where her soul was gone and there was only left with these demons. And then when, you know, when these demons couldn't be cast out, that was all that was left. And that's what she basically embodied at that point. So it just, it really reminds me of that story, of that situation. But what are some of the examples that one might be possessed? What are maybe some of these key things that you've seen in your past and your experiences that may kind of point towards, okay, yeah, this may certainly be that.
A lot of people call me, and I don't mean to smile, but a lot of people call me and
Mm-hmm.
tell me I'm possessed. I think I'm possessed.
Right,
And I
right.
know right then that they're not, because a possessed person, the demon's not going to allow the person to call someone like me and admit that they're possessed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I already know that they're not. They may have an attachment and they may
Right.
be going through some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be even times where I suspect, now I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I pretty much on a monthly basis talk with a psychiatrist and with a psychologist just to make sure I'm not going crazy, because the last
Very
thing you
boring.
want is a crazy exorcist in your home. So I do that, and I tell people that, and I say, so if I can do it, there should be no reason why you can't do it. I'm asking you to make an
Mm-hmm.
appointment with a psychologist or psychiatrist just so we can check off the boxes and
Mm-hmm.
see what we're dealing with here. Some people get so irate. Are you calling me crazy?
Right,
No,
right.
it's just part of the process. But
Mm-hmm.
I already know deep inside that there's something not right in terms of their psychosis going
Mm-hmm.
on, and I just want somebody that knows more about that than me to
Mm-hmm.
try and tap into that and let me know, no, they're not crazy, or yeah, I think there's something going on here that's not an evil spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tragic, and the last, I want to say, year of my father's life and last 2 years of my mother's life, they were in these hospice care facilities. I would go in there with my Ghost Be Gone hat on, or a Ghost Be Gone shirt, or sometimes
Mm-hmm.
even the collar.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I would have people that work there come up to me and go, you know what? If I can make it work, if I can talk to the shift nurse, the head nurse on my
Mhm.
shift at night and get the okay, you need to come in here sometime at 3 o'clock in the morning and walk around, because there's a lot of there's a lot of funkiness going
Stuff
on
going
here,
on. Yeah.
and there's a lot of people here that have been clinically diagnosed like schizophrenic or even worse, or
Mhm.
maybe not even that bad, that are in the psych wards, that I truly believe are not suffering mental illness. They've got a demonic attachment.
Mm.
And so that's the sad thing too. There's a lot of people out there that are been given pumped with a lot of drugs and
Mhm.
been legally diagnosed as having a mental illness because the doctor didn't know what else. The doctor's not going to write down demonic possession
Right. Of course not.
to cover legally cover his own rear end. He writes that script out and writes his diagnosis down. But then
Mhm.
these people are sitting there suffering because you all the drugs in the world and all the psychiatrists and psychologists in the world aren't going to help this person with their demonic attachment. So that's another very sad thing
Yeah,
about
it
this
seems
field.
like you're making the person of the side weak and not being able to even fight the demon at that point. So the demon's basically taking over. If you're under all those drugs and all that stuff, you have no way to fight. How does one person fight like that? It's impossible, I'm sure.
Mm.
So you don't have to believe in the Catholic religion to be possessed. Is that correct?
No, anybody can be. We're all targets.
We're all targets.
In fact, the less you believe, I feel you're more of a target. Now, of course, I
Ah.
do believe, in my humble opinion, and
Mhm.
I'm probably going to get hate mail for this too. In my humble opinion, I do believe God allows some Catholics to get possessed because they know that person can handle it. They already know that person's going to get the help that they need, but
Interesting.
they know that there's somebody close to that person that needs to witness what true evil can do, and then witness the glory and of God. And when this
Mm.
person finally gets delivered and saved, they want this other person to witness that and see that.
Mm.
So I believe that happens sometimes, because people ask me all the time, why would this good person, like even a nun or another priest, get possessed?
Right.
I
Right.
believe that there's a reason for that.
Mhm.
But people that don't believe are big time targets because they don't fight back.
Right.
They don't ever see it coming, and then it's too late, and they're still not fighting back. They just
Mhm.
basically have rolled over and played dead, and now they're possessed. And
It's too late.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Reverend, you've had your path and your journey, throughout this time, and you've been able to do this show on the Travel Channel that I absolutely love.
Thank you,
If you
brother.
haven't seen it, it's Eli Roth presents the Legion of Exorcists, and it talks about a lot of different aspects of demonic possessions and things of that nature. But in the one episode that they featured you in, it was more pertaining to demonic portals. And it featured a story about you regarding a demonic portal. Tell maybe our listeners what is a demonic portal? How does it come about? How do we close it? What do we do to avoid it? Tell us, please.
Well, I was blessed in of the 6 episodes. I was blessed that the producers used 4 of my Ghost
Mm-hmm.
Begone cases for stories in the episodes. You know what? Honestly, I'm still on the fence with portals. I don't really understand them. I go into a house and I start doing an exorcism on a house and property, and sometimes I'll have the owner say, "Why are you putting um, holy water on your thumb and physically touching the wall and making a cross?
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't the demons just come in through the window, and that's why you put the salt there and open the windows and smudge and then close them?" Um, no, they can come in any way they want to come in. So is the window the portal? Is the wall the portal? And I
Right.
know a lot of people do believe in portals, and I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just on the fence with them. I
Mm-hmm.
believe even a person can be a portal. A
Mm-hmm.
person can be the kind of person who, just the way they are. Oh, I'm going to get hate mail again. I listen. I have friends of all religious belief systems. I have
Mm-hmm.
friends that are witches. I have
Mm-hmm.
friends that are pagans. I have
Mm-hmm.
Jewish friends, Muslim friends. We all love each other. We all get along because
Mm-hmm.
everybody uses their religious belief system uh, with love and light in mind,
Mhm.
and to do good. When
Mhm.
someone takes that religious belief system and perverts it and starts doing ugly things with it, that's when it becomes a problem. And
Mhm.
when a person starts doing that, they can even be a portal, and things can start traveling in and out of this world just through them and their bubble and the environment that they created for themselves with all of this funkiness that they're doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so to think of, like, let's get silly here for a minute and think of the first Poltergeist movie. You
Right.
had the portal that was in the closet, and then it
Correct.
had even an exit point through the
Yes.
ceiling where the
To the ceiling in the living room.
you know that I loved the movie, one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies of all time. I'm a big horror movie buff,
Mhm.
but I don't know if there's actual portals like that.
Mm.
I just believe maybe there's more like uh areas of the veil that are so thin that that powerful entities can manipulate that part of the veil and come and go.
Mm.
I could be totally wrong, but
Right.
that's where I sort of tend to lean,
Mhm.
rather than actual, portal. Although, like that one case I think you're talking about with the mirrors, this
Yes.
lady, it was weird how she, her husband died. She lived back east. She
Mhm.
relocated to Vegas because the real estate biz is hopping here. She was a real
Mhm.
estate agent. She knew how to flip homes and make money. So she buys this home, and here's this bed in the house in this weird room. I mean, the room looked like a normal room in the show, but when I
Mhm.
went to this home, it was like it looked at first like an add-on closet out of the
Really?
way, but when you walked into it, it was a very small room, and it had
Mm.
this bed in it that had bloodstains all over it.
Wow.
And all the mirrors either had sheets or blankets on them or were
Mhm.
actually painted, which I
Mhm.
found very odd. And now, of course, she's not the owner; she's the owner of the home. But the home came like this, so
Right.
she didn't know what was going on. But
Mhm.
right then, I knew that there was something funky there. But I did, every time I walked by a mirror. Now I know I'm very sensitive to spirit, and I've got a certain level of psychic ability. But when I walked by these mirrors, you could definitely feel, um, it felt, every mirror that I would walk by felt different
Mhm.
than once I passed by it. And
Mm.
sometimes I could actually sit in front of a mirror and either touch it or get close enough to it and kind of maybe drop a little bit into a meditative state and
Mhm.
almost hear somebody trying to communicate with me or call for help,
Wow.
which was really, really weird. And then the scraping of the the uh, the scraping of the paint off of the glass,
Mhm.
the one mirror, and I saw the apparition of the girl on the bed. Um, I never, you know, I love the show. I'm a big, big fan of the show. I hope there's
Mhm.
a season two. I think they did a great job. Some of the stories they watered down a little bit. Some of my stories I said we can never put that on TV. It's just
It's too much.
all right. And
Yes.
some of them, uh, they, in these cinematic recreations, which again, the actor that played me, Steve Crawford,
Mhm.
talented actor, and I love the
Yeah.
way he portrayed me. Um, I didn't actually see a demon in that case, but I love
Mhm.
their interpretation of what I did see, which was, this thing felt like a large man following me everywhere I went in this home,
Mhm.
like with its chest on my
Now you're
shoulders,
back. Right. Yeah.
leaning on me like a gigantic
Oh.
hunchback everywhere I went. And I audibly heard it tell me, leave, get out. Um, I could feel its breath.
Mhm.
I could smell its breath. Um, and I got locked into the room for hours. I mean, this lady, I said she's got it. She said she was just going to the market. Certainly, she's going to come right back. I don't know. I don't even remember if I asked her what she did, but she
Mhm.
was gone all day, and this demon locked me in this room. I'm
Wow.
telling you, brother. Another thing they couldn't do. They tried to find a house that had a spiral staircase
Right.
because this home did.
Mhm.
And I remember walking up this spiral staircase, and when I got up to the top, there was um, all of these. When the lady first moved in, she discovered a bag full of these door stops that you would put
Okay.
behind a door,
Yeah. Yeah.
spring door stops.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
that's weird. She looked around. She goes, they're off all the doors. I'm going to put them all back. So she puts them all back. There's another thing they didn't put in the story. She
Mm.
puts them all back in the doors. Immediately, she starts hearing all over the house, doing, doing, doing. It was this little ghost cat, this
Oh.
kind of funky demonic ghost
Mhm.
cat that was playing swatting the little
The little door
doorstops behind the
stopper.
doors.
Yeah.
So I thought I saw the cat upstairs, and I followed up this thing, and then I go into this room, and I get locked in there. And I'm
Mm.
telling you, brother, there was no lock on the door. I couldn't get out of this room. So I
Mhm.
didn't, I felt like panicking, breaking the window
Mhm.
and jumping out, but I'm on the
Right.
second floor. But I
Right.
decided to just sit down, open up my Bible, and pray for a while. And eventually the door opened up on its own and let me out. But when I started walking out, I couldn't see it, but I could
Mhm.
feel the cat. And I've got 5 outdoor cats, so I know how this is,
Mhm.
doing like a figure 8 between my feet as I'm
Uh-huh.
walking. And it dawned on me, this is how it's going to get me. Right when I get to these stairs, I'm
Mhm.
going to get tripped and shoved down these stairs. So I stayed on the second floor. I was actually too nervous to actually,
Go
this
down.
thing felt so powerful that I was a little nervous to actually get to the stairs and try and walk down.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't until she got home. But when
Mm.
and here again, it tried to trick me. When she hadn't got home yet, and I heard someone come in the front door and yell for me, Reverend Shawn,
Mhm.
and it was her. And I called down to her a couple of times. I went and looked out the window that overlooked on the
Driveway.
no, right on the very top of the stairs before I go into the
Okay.
bedroom. I don't know
Gotcha.
what area you would call that, the loft. I look
Mhm.
out the window to the driveway. She's not home. I'm all, it's trying to get me to go. I knew it was trying to get me to go down these stairs. Then she finally did come home, but she didn't want to come in the house because by this time, so many things that had happened had freaked her out. She was living in an RV out in
Mhm.
the driveway.
Outside. Right.
This was another thing
Wow.
they didn't show in the show. Used to see this huge pig, like a huge wild pig,
Mhm.
roaming around her backyard, sometimes in the house. But it would, when she would try to sleep at night in the RV, this thing would come up and it would slam its body up against the RV
Wow.
all night long and rock it to keep her from sleeping. See,
Amazing.
it was just, there's some things that they didn't show, some things that they put their own twist on it, which I loved and thought that it was beautifully done. But
Mhm.
that long story short, portals. I'm on
Yeah.
the fence about them. I'm not saying they
Mhm.
don't exist, but it just, if you think you've moved into a place that was used
Mhm.
for not good things,
Mhm.
satanic
Rituals.
rituals,
Yeah.
devil worship, things of that nature. Maybe somebody was sacrificed there, which the police didn't. We've contacted the police on that case. They had no record of any murder taking place there. But it was, you just got to be very careful.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just amazing at how unsuspecting you can just walk into a situation like that. Question for you, Reverend. When you're in the process of removing these spirits or entities or what have you from these people, is there a process that you have to go through? Is there something that you have to actually prepare for? I'm sure that's not something you just pick up and do right away and say, okay, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and do an exorcist right now, and exorcism, and that's it. But I'm sure there's some type of preparation that goes into that. Can you explain to me a little bit about that process?
I'll eventually have a completely different process, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning now in the seminary, the Catholic
Mm-hmm.
seminary. But prior to this, of course, there was a course I took. But I get people that call me all the time and say, I want to learn how to be an exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to explain to them that there's really no way, in my humble opinion, again,
Mm-hmm.
there's really no way to learn it. It's a calling. And I was called to this. And so when I used to do this before I entered the seminary, I had my own way. It was kind of like when in Rome kind of thing. I
Right.
learned some things from the course and
Mm-hmm.
from actually being in battle on many occasions. I
Mm-hmm.
learned how to do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized many of the techniques were successful. And I realize now why many of my techniques I failed miserably at
Mm-hmm.
trying to bring closure to some of these cases. So here's another interesting story, and I don't know how much time we have. I'll
No,
make it
please.
quick.
Absolutely.
But here
No.
I am. When I was a little kid, my mother's the most devout Catholic that I've ever known in my life. She was from Brazil. May she rest in peace. When I was a little boy, she used to always say to me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" and a stupid kid, I would say things like, I want to be a cop or a fireman or a pro
Mhm.
football player, Spider-Man.
Right.
And she would say to me, I think you should be a priest. I'm telling
Ah,
you, brother, I used to think that was the
wow.
funny, and she said it to me all my life. I thought that was the
Really?
funniest thing anybody, especially her, would ever say to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here, all these years later, I wondered, I used to ask God, why did you lay this show in my lap?
Mhm.
Um, and the way I got it was interesting. I don't know if you know Joni Mahan. She's a very popular paranormal author. She
Mhm.
gets a
Mhm.
call out of the blue from a producer saying he's working on a show about demonic possession and exorcism. Did she have anybody that she could recommend that he should talk to? She
Mhm.
gave him my name and number. Now,
Mhm.
this happened before the pandemic. So this first guy I talked to him a couple of times. It seemed like every time I made a good relationship, they would bump me up to the next person on the chain of command. So after two or three people, now I'm eventually a year later talking to like the show creators and the writers and the director.
Mhm.
And then after all of that, like 2.5 hours Zoom meetings where I would just tell stories like this.
Right.
Then I didn't hear from them for like about a year. And my wife and I were on our way home from running errands one day, and we stop into a Del Taco, get some food in the drive-through, and we're even too hungry to drive home. We pull into the parking lot. I hadn't heard from these people in months. My phone starts ringing, and I can see it's an LA number. I thought, maybe I should answer it. I got a
Mhm.
mouthful of bean and cheese burrito. I answer the phone, and here one of the executives from Travel Channel, the director, a couple of the writers, they're in
Yeah.
an office. They got me on speakerphone. They're
Right.
saying the show's a go. We're offering you a spot. What do you want to be part of this? So, but to go back to the beginning, my mother would say that to me. Joni
Mhm.
introduces me to this guy. The rest
Mhm.
happens. We cram 12 weeks of shooting into 2 weeks. So the days were very long. We were on a set from like 6:30 to 7 o'clock at night with like a 20-minute
Wow.
lunch break. I'm in that
Wow.
chair on the set,
All
cameras
day.
rolling all that time. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
surprised. You know how many times I fell asleep that I'm sure they had to edit out of the show? A lot. If you go back, like I just binge watched the episodes last Tuesday on Travel on the Marathon, and I
Yeah.
could tell. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody else could. I could tell I was sleeping there. And Rich is on one side of me, elbowing me
Right.
all the time, and then
Right.
Donnie
Yeah.
on the other side of
Down
me
to
is
the other
occasionally
side.
kicking my leg. Um, it is what it is. They were long days. We were in this
Right.
almost 200-year-old Catholic church up in the
It was
hills.
beautiful, the backdrop.
Oh, it was
Beautiful.
a real church. And a lot
Yeah,
of people think it
I
was a
thought it was a
set.
set. Yeah, I thought it was a
Oh,
set.
it was cold, quiet, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Anyway, after 2 weeks of filming, I'm about to come home. I'm in my trailer, and Bishop Long comes walking in the trailer.
Hmm.
And he says, "Do you mind if I have a quick word with you?" And I'm like, "What's going on?" He's got this weird smirk on his face. And he starts talking to me. He says, "I just want you to know, after working with you for 2 weeks, I've gotten to know you quite well.
Hmm.
I think you've got a pure heart. In fact, I know you have a pure heart, and I think you would make a great priest. And if you're interested in the priesthood, look up the United States Old Catholic Church, read about it, and if you want to do this, I can put you in front of the Council of Bishops for an interview and see if you can get accepted into the seminary."
Mm.
Now, I already knew the answer was yes. I didn't tell him yes then.
Right.
I said, "I'll call you when I get home." And I also didn't tell him this either. And I told him later. But when he started telling me this, all of a sudden, I'll get through this without being emotional. All of a sudden, I saw my mother's face on
Oh,
his face,
wow.
and I heard her voice coming through his mouth. And I
Wow.
knew right then, I said, this was why. This was why this show got laid in my lap. I
It's
it all happened. I knew right then, like a bolt of lightning hit me. And
Isn't
so
it weird when you find yourself in that position where you know you're in the right space at the right amount of time? You know you're in the right space, right time. The message was delivered to you. You're right there. You're meant to be there.
I knew it then. So this is where I'm at now. I'm in the seminary. Who joins the seminary at 63? Well, my mother, in spirit and God,
Right.
asked me to. You don't say no to God. So here I
Right.
am. If we go on to a season two, it's all. God didn't get credit in the credits for being the show creator, but I know he's the original
Right.
legit show creator of this
Mm-hmm.
show. And it's in his
Mm-hmm.
hands now. If it's meant to be and he wants a season two, there will be one. But if not, I've already accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. We put out a good piece of work that we're all proud of. And I'm on the seminary and on my way to the priesthood, and I'm blessed. What else
No,
can I say?
it's funny how one thing opens up another, one opportunity opens up another. Again, it seems like you were meant to be in that space and meant to be in that moment in time. And it's a great thing for you. I really do believe that. And you've been helping people out for so long now. It's been over 10 years now, Reverend?
Yeah, Sharon and I, we just celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary. We started the team shortly after we met, but about 10 years ago, we had that first. We started doing much darker cases, and
Right.
eventually that led me down the path to become a deliverance minister, and then ultimately now in the seminary. So yeah, about 10 years doing that kind of work.
Oh, amazing. Reverend, you know, we have this, idea of when a reverend or a priest is expelling these spirits out of people. Is it true, or is this more of a Hollywood thing? But is it true that you would have to get the name of the actual demon for it to say its own name for you to be able to expel it, or is that just more of a Hollywood kind of like woo kind of thing?
I'm learning. I'm a baptized Catholic all my life. I was baptized when I was a little baby, got
Hmm.
confirmed, been a
Hmm.
Catholic all my life. you know, there are some exorcists that will tell you absolutely you need that. That
Hmm.
totally, you know, uh, they lose all their strength, all their
Right.
power then when they reveal who they are and what their mission is. Have I brought closure to many demonic cases having not gotten that name? Yes,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's all about, like I said, I have no magic powers. Like when I show up to a home, I can already tell. Like it could be high noon here in Vegas, and I'm walking up to a home, and there could be no trees around this house. And if it's demonically infested, to me, unlike any other home on the block, the home will look like I'm looking at it through sunglasses. It's got that dinge to it.
Hmm.
Before I even go into the house, my big weapon personally is humility. That's one of the things demons hate to see somebody have. They can't imitate it, and I
Hmm.
will
It's
get on
interesting.
my knees and do some prayers at the front door, and I will actually crawl on my hands and knees into the home, into the living room, and sometimes that's all it takes for them to leave. I am also lucky enough to be blessed to be able to be used as a vessel to allow whatever wants to come in to help me that I'm praying for help
Hmm.
usually comes to help. And I,
Hmm.
I can feel the presence of these angelic beings, whether they're angels or my guardian angels or you know just the Holy Spirit alone. I know
Hmm.
that there's something going on there, and there's things there helping me fight. And that's the key. Is you said it earlier in the show? Is your faith
Hmm.
and being humble and
Hmm.
having the people there 100% on board with what you're trying to do and wanting to help you and wanting to fight back. But yes, exorcism is just it's just a really large prayer. And there's things that happen during an exorcism. You've got to be kind of Johnny on the spot. You can
Yeah.
ask for the name, and it doesn't have to be. You can actually give it a name.
Hmm.
You are the demon of jealousy or the demon of pornography or the
Hmm.
demon of this or that. I forget the famous exorcist that calls it carpet bombing. You can start
Hmm.
just labeling the demon, um, and continuing to do the prayers and quoting scripture and
Hmm.
laying hands on and just fighting back. And I believe that that can be, depending on how strong your faith is and what kind of help you're able to bring down,
Hmm.
is is going to be the ultimate game changer. But
Hmm.
yes, they do say that if you can get the demon to admit its name, um, then that goes a long way. But
Hmm.
sometimes you just can't get it. They'll admit everything else. You also got to be careful too, because very very little what they tell you is the truth.
That's
But
true. Yeah.
sometimes they mix a little bit of the truth in,
Hmm.
and you've also got to be careful with your emotions. Sometimes I have to excuse myself from right in the middle of an exorcism. Sometimes I have to excuse myself because I can feel that I'm not right. I remember one time the demon had manifested in a client, and that client lunged at me and slapped me really hard. And for a
Wow.
split second, I got really mad.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
all of a sudden,
You got to snap
I
yourself out of
mean,
it,
there
right?
was like every drawer, every cabinet, every
Yeah.
window in that home started opening and slamming at the same time. And
Wow.
the noise was so deafening that you couldn't even talk and have the person next to you hear you. And what happened was there was a priest in the kitchen waving me to him.
Hmm.
And we went into the garage and he said, "You're mad. And the second you got hit and got mad, the demon took your anger and used it for its own strength. So you need to go now." And I left crying and felt like I was a failure to God. And how could I have allowed that to happen? But we're only human, man.
Right.
Like I said, we don't have any magic powers, and
Hmm.
so you got to be careful. So I try not to get upset. A lot of just you being there is religious provocation. I don't believe in poking the bear. There's no reason to go in there and do religious provocation. Many exorcists do. If it works
Hmm.
for them, God bless them. I
Right.
pray for them, but
Yep.
that's not my style. I try not to. Another thing that really works for me is I've already gotten the okay from the whole family
Hmm.
to have a renewal of baptismal promises. When you baptize someone, that really is kicking the devil right in the you know what's. He just hates that.
He
And
hates
he
that,
would
right?
rather go down the street and get the next easy target than to sit there and continue to fight.
Right.
Um, but I'll get the whole family on the couch, and just like Jesus did to his apostles, I have a huge bowl of holy water, and I will wash everybody's feet in holy water. And while I'm doing that, I will be asking them questions from the renewal of baptismal script and having them audibly answer these questions the way they need to answer them during this baptism, and I will baptize them again or rebaptize them. If they've already been baptized, you can't rebaptize them, but
Hmm.
it's just that it's a renewal of baptismal promises, and it's all a part of humility, man, and just being humble, and the demons, they hate that, man. They
Wow.
really do.
Listen, let me ask you, Reverend. You've taken on this role, and which is an amazing thing. It really is because of what you take on. What do you? How do you balance the demands? How do you balance the demands of your role as a reverend? How do you balance your personal life, your self care? You have to take care of yourself too, I'm sure. I mean, you dealing with all the stuff that's negative all the time cannot be good. For yourself, I'm sure there's things you have to do to rid yourself of these things and cleanse yourself. I mean, how do you balance all that? How do you do
Well, giving absolute no credit to the demonic and not
it?
blaming God for anything, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
never really recovered after the pandemic, man. It was like, we went into that 2 year lockdown. And
Hmm.
since that time, I went to an extreme part time basis at the animal hospital they work at. I'm on a
Hmm.
call only 3 nights a week. My wife's the office manager, so she's there like Monday through Saturday from sunup to sundown. I'm
Hmm.
there maybe 3 nights a week, part time in the evenings. So I never really recovered from that. I have to remind myself I don't really I have a life.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I'm so
Hmm.
buried in seminary studies now. That's where my focus is. But sometimes I realize, and Sharon will say to me, honey, it's been probably a month since you've even left the house.
Right.
Let's just go for a drive. Let's go maybe watch a movie. Let's go out for a bite to eat, and then we'll
Hmm.
go. She has to sometimes even remind me, like, to take a shower, because I'll be in
Yeah.
here on, taking classes, doing tests,
Right.
listening to lectures. I've got to always have a list longer than my arm of people reaching out for help. So I'm calling
Hmm.
people. I got students that want to talk about a part in my course where they're a little stuck and they want some clarification. I've got people making appointments to want to speak with me about their spiritual issues, and on and on and on. So it's just, I'm busy,
Hmm.
but it's not, I really don't have much of a life. This is my life.
Right. I get it.
But don't be sad for me. I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm blessed. And once I get ordained into the priesthood, I've sort of turned the page on the paranormal stuff. I'm still helping people as much as I can, and
Hmm.
I'm that quick. I can pick up my bag of tricks and head out and run to a home and
Right.
perform an exorcism if I have to. But I've
Hmm.
sort of turned the page on that. I'm concentrating on the seminary. I know once um, I become an ordained priest, then I'm going to take these. I'm already in these classes, but I'm going to take some really in-depth theology and demonology courses
Hmm.
and ultimately make a decision if I want to become an ordained Catholic exorcist.
Mm.
And I may just stay a priest, try and find a brick and mortar location here and start a parish and go that route. We'll see what God has planned for me.
Yeah.
Lord knows I've already had my fair share of battles.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's to continue, he'll let me know.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, he'll let me know too. But right now, this is my life. I very rarely, the wife, like I said, the wife has to remind me to get out of the
Pull
house, even
back.
if you
Yeah.
walk around the block and get some fresh air and some sun on my face, or
Yeah.
honey, or when's the last time you took a shower? I think I took, it might be Thursday, and I'll say, I think Sunday. She goes,
Sunday.
you're smelling a little ripe. Maybe you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to,
yeah.
because I still work out every day. So
Right.
she's like, I think you might want to take one tonight. And I
Yeah.
know that's her way of telling me I need to take a
Yeah.
shower. So I got, I tend to submerge myself in my work, and then
Right. Yeah. She pulls you
life
out. She pulls you
life
out.
happens around me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. That's good that you have her, and God bless her, and thank God you have a partner like that knows when to say, "Hey, listen, come on over here for a little bit."
I
Get
can't
your
believe
eyes
she
up.
still wants to work cases. Dude, I'm telling you, she went through, overnight after we got that,
Yeah.
whatever it was in our home that was attacking her out of here. Here
Right.
she is, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, no
Right.
history of cancer in her family, and
Mhm.
practically overnight, she was hit with medullary thyroid cancer, squamous cell carcinoma of the tongue, a rare form of throat cancer, and then her medullary cancer also spread to lymph nodes in her neck. She was given basically a death sentence,
Wow.
and she had a feeding tube in for a year. There was like months where she couldn't even swallow water.
Mm.
Lots of chemo, lots of radiation.
Mm.
Um, do you got time for one more quick, really
Let's
important
do it.
story?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Here she is this one night. I'm
Hmm.
convinced. I'll get through this without getting emotional. One night, I know she's dying. I know for a fact.
Hmm.
I just know.
Hmm.
I know that I'm going to wake up in the morning laying next to a dead woman. She was that bad of a night. I mean, she's
Hmm.
like, she got sick at 140 pounds, and now she's like 95, and it's just
Wow.
bad.
Mm.
And I don't know what else to do. And I remember something my mother did when I wasn't even born yet. My mother wasn't supposed to have any children after my second oldest sister, because
Mm.
that birth was so rough on her. They suspected if you got pregnant again and had another child, you might not make it.
Right.
My father's still in the service at the time. He was in the Navy for 25 years, Master Chief. Um, he contracts spinal meningitis, encephalitis, and a number of other things overseas, and they rush him back home because they suspect he's going to die. And he's out of
Jeez.
his mind, in and out of a coma, and out of his mind when he's awake.
Right.
They've got him strapped to a bed. They suspect he won't make it till morning. So they call my mom, tell him, come now. You may not see him alive again if you don't. So on
Right.
the way to the base hospital, she stops at this church. And she crawls on her hands and knees all the way from the front door to the altar, throws herself on the mercy of the court, if you will, and begs for God
Hmm.
to spare my father's life, makes him two promises. One, if he does this for her, from that point on, whenever she goes to church, she'll do it on her hands and knees, and
Hmm.
she'll have another child. When she gets to the hospital, my father's passed out. She falls asleep at his bedside. She wakes up in the morning. He's wide awake. She screams. Doctors come running in. They did every test imaginable. They couldn't find any trace of any of the diseases in him.
What?
She decides, and it's in the, you can look his case up, Lawrence Whittington, in the
Hmm.
naval medical records as being, they just marked it down as a miracle. They don't know what else
Hmm.
it was.
Hmm.
She kept her part of the bargain from that point on until she got too old and physically unable to do it. Whenever
Hmm.
she went to church, she did it on her hands and knees, and she had another child. Ta-da! Yours
Ew.
truly. So she also grew up. I grew up being told I was her miracle baby, which made my brother and sisters
Very
always go,
jealous.
oh, here it comes again.
The chosen
Um,
one.
so um, I go, you know what? I,
Yeah.
I knew what I had to do. I had to run to this all night prayer chapel around the corner, crawl
Hmm.
on my hands and knees all the way up to the altar, throw myself at the mercy of the court. And I just talked to God as if he was sitting right there in the chair in front of me. Who knows the kind of things I said to him? It was just like a one-on-one conversation, begging for
Hmm.
my wife's life.
Hmm.
I don't even know how long I laid there. I might have even fallen asleep for a little while. I wake up
Wow.
on the altar. I decide it's time to go home, but I have this. I don't even want to go home, brother. To tell you the truth, I'm
You're
afraid.
scared, right? Yeah.
But I go home, I walk in there, I carefully walk up to the bed. I'm looking at my wife. Well, she's still breathing. Thank you, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
phone starts ringing. Like, who's calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
It's a East Coast call. I have lots of family. Somebody might be a family emergency. I answered. I had a friend named Russ who I've known all my life. We grew up together, knew him all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Diehard atheist, good guy, biggest heart. You wouldn't want to, couldn't have a better friend.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy, but diehard atheist. He's on the East Coast on his deathbed, dying of advanced colon cancer.
Wow.
But he sounds magnificent.
Hmm.
On the other end of this line, I'm all, brother, what's going on? Why are you calling me? I needed to call you. I was told to call you. I
Mm-hmm.
just saw God, and he wanted
Mm-hmm.
me to tell you that Sharon's going to live, and that you need to continue fighting those responsible, because I had left the ministry at the time just
Wow.
to my wife survived.
Right.
So I don't know how much longer we talked. I hung up the phone, and right then my wife made a miraculous turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't long after that the feeding tube, she started to be able to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after that, the feeding tube came out. She continued her, lots of different types of treatments and some surgeries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been, a couple, 3 years since then. And
Mm-hmm.
the last full body CT and MRI we've done show no metastasis of the
Thank
disease
God.
anywhere in her
Thank
body.
God.
And
Yeah.
she's still here. And I try to sneak out and do cases without her, but she won't allow it. She still wants to. I
Yeah.
go, and they use that against you too. I can't tell you how
Right.
many times I've walked into a place and
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it starts as like a bumblebee in my ear, and this
Really.
buzzing usually turns into clear, audible voice of somebody that sounds like they have throat cancer
Mm-hmm.
saying to me, if I'm there by myself or with Sharon, if I'm there by myself, sometimes the voice will say, um, you know, why didn't you bring Sharon? We miss her.
Oh,
Or
wow.
or if Sharon's there, we're glad you brought Sharon because we're not done with her yet.
Oh, no.
And
Yeah.
and if you're not ready to just shake that kind of, and I'm gonna admit there's been times where I've just turned around and told the family I'll be back, and just don't
Mm-hmm.
even tell Sharon that happened. Went in the car, honey, what's wrong? Why are we going home? Trust me,
We don't.
I need to psychologically regroup here. We're going home.
Right.
If you're not ready for that kind of stuff, this is not the field for you, even if you feel called to it, because these things are like supernatural paranormal gangsters to the 100th power and
Mm-hmm.
beyond.
Mm.
And I can't even adequately describe in words the level of hatred they have for us. And it's just they first want to go after everything that you love before they come
Right.
for you. And that's also a process of making you weak and letting your guard down before they get to you. Many times I tell people, do you have any children or animals in the house?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Send the kids to a babysitter, send the animals to a boarding kennel the night that I'm coming. Because I know if I go there, like I said, just my presence is
Yeah.
provocation enough. And the first that get attacked are the children and the animals. And then that's very distracting.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's it is what it is.
It's an amazing life, my friend. Amazing life, really. What you're doing is amazing work. You're helping people. I can't, I really can't say enough about it. It's really kind of selfless in a lot of ways because that is your life right now. That's basically what you're doing. You've dedicated your life to this, and I can't
Where do
thank
you
you enough.
live?
I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida. I wish I could go out there and do something
How
with you,
far
but
how far are you from Louisville, Kentucky?
uh, not that far. Hop, skip, and a jump away on an airplane.
Well,
You know?
I'll send you the information of the event. I
Yeah.
fly into Louisville, I believe November 2nd, which is a Thursday. The
Okay.
following day on November 3rd
Mm-hmm.
at a chapel in, I believe, Spencer, Indiana, which is about an hour drive from Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'll be ordained. I'm also assisting in that mass.
Oh
And then the
wow.
following day at the same, I think my hotel room's right next to the chapel. Then the
Mm-hmm.
following day at the same chapel, one of our priests, that's why I love the USOCC, they allow your priest to get married.
Mm-hmm.
That one of the priests is getting married the next day in the same chapel.
Mm.
And then I fly back the following day, Sunday the 4th. But it's open to the public. We're sending out
Yeah.
invitations.
I would love to go
Anybody's
there.
welcome to come and watch. We have one of our deacons being ordained to the priesthood. We have
Hmm.
3 seminarians being ordained to the diaconate. We have one priest taking his solemn vows as a Benedictine monk, and we have one of our priests getting married. So it's going to be a great
No,
weekend,
man.
and we're opening it. It's open to the public, and so it'll be very, very cool.
That'd be a cool event to definitely go to. I would really appreciate going to that. Yeah, send me information. I would definitely like to go. Reverend, tell us a little bit where they can find all of your information. Again, what is it? Ghostbegone.biz. Is that correct?
www.ghost-b-gone.biz is the website.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a certified spiritual advisor, intuitive coach, listener. I'm a great listener.
Mm-hmm.
When people can make an appointment to speak with me for spiritual issues, not paranormal, they're on the website. I
Mm-hmm.
offer my course there on the website, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. I've got both my books there.
Your
I've got
books, yes.
God, Ghost, and the Paranormal Ministry, and I've
Mm-hmm.
got God, Ghost, and the Paranormal Ministry 2.
Nice.
And what else do I got on there? I don't know. I haven't been on my website in a while. But I got the show Monday nights
Yes.
at 5 and Friday
Mm-hmm.
afternoons at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live 2.0 on Facebook Live. And I have a
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel, Reverend Shawn Whittington. And what else do I do? I'm in a seminary, and
Don't you think you don't do enough, Rev? I mean, come on.
I don't know what else I do. What else
What
do
else
I
do you
do?
want to do?
Let me
Come
look
on.
around here and see what else I do. I don't think I do anything else. I think that's
That's
it, man.
hilarious. Hilarious. Reverend, one last question before I let you go. Since you're a movie lover, what movie have you seen throughout your life that you would say that's the closest to what we're dealing with here on Earth, as far as the battle between good and evil?
Oh, you're gonna think this is so silly. I'm a card carrying member. This isn't a real
Uh-huh.
club, but I always tell people I'm a card carrying member of
Uh-huh.
the old cult classic horror movie fan club. And I
Mm-hmm.
just posted. I remember this one movie I saw when I was a little kid. It resulted in my parents used to put me to bed,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't know this, but I would set an alarm, and I would wake if I knew that there was like a good horror movie on like at 2 or 3
Yeah.
in the morning. I'd wake
Oh
up, I'd
yeah.
go in, and they would always know that that happened because these movies would scare the you know what out of me, and I would
Yep.
have to crawl into bed with them. So when they woke up in the morning, there I would be sleeping. And I
Right.
just stumbled upon this old movie that did that to me when I
Mm.
was young, called The City of the Dead. It's an old black and white English movie
Ah.
about devil worship.
Okay.
Um, and the ending is classic.
Mm.
Um, and then things like you know, I'm a big monster fan, like
Okay.
the original Dracula,
Mm-hmm.
Werewolf, Wolfman,
Universal. Yeah, the universal ones.
Frankenstein,
Yeah.
the Universal ones.
Yeah.
So anything like that. As far as the demonic go, um, the whole family went. The Exorcist came out,
Mm-hmm.
and this was back in the day when you would have lines. You'd have to drive like to Westwood to
Mm-hmm.
see a movie like that if you were in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and the lines would be like a 2 hour wait for every showing, lines around the building
Wow.
back in the
Wow.
day. So we
Yeah.
went and saw this movie. Um, that movie was truly frightening to me. I don't even know why my parents took me. I think I probably slept with them. I'm serious. I probably
Yeah.
slept with them after that movie for a month.
Yeah.
After that, I threw my Ouija board away. I
Mm-hmm.
had black light posters all over my room with black lights, and some
Got
of
rid of all
these
that.
felt posters looked a little demonic. I threw all of them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Started going back to catechism in church
Yeah.
every Saturday and
Right.
Sunday, and that was even to this day, brother. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
um, it can be 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm bored. I've got the volume down. I don't want to turn it up because the wife's asleep. I
Mm-hmm.
can't sleep. I got to come back in here and do some work. Channel
Mm-hmm.
surfing, and I see The Exorcist coming on,
Mm-hmm.
and I will just flip right by it
Mm-hmm.
because it still brings back
Those
um,
memories, huh?
those memories. I can
Yeah.
watch it, but it
Right.
still brings back. I remember going to the theater for like the 25th anniversary re-release of it,
Right.
and they added, it was like a final director's cut, and they
I
put
remember.
all
Yeah.
this stuff back into. Brother,
Yeah.
I'm in the back of the theater, scrunched down like this, a grown man, and all these kids are laughing at the movie. Through the whole movie, these kids are laughing.
Right.
I'm like, what has happened to kids,
Society. Right.
the society of kids? And same thing happened when I went to see a private screening of what's the Steven Spielberg movie about the Holocaust?
Oh, Schindler's List. No.
They brought. I went to see a private screening of that. They
Okay.
brought in like a couple of busloads of students from a nearby school
Right.
who were going to take a film course or something, and they're
Mm.
watching this movie, and they were doing the same thing through this movie, nothing but laughing and joking around about it. And I was just thinking to myself, what has happened to society?
It's weird, right?
But to me, I'd have to say The Exorcist.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other
Yeah.
stories that aren't that over the top dramatic as William
Mhm.
Friedkin directed and Peter Blatty
Right.
directed that are still, like you mentioned, the Emily Rose.
Mhm.
That's a very eye-opening, awakening. That was true.
Right.
That gets your attention.
Mhm.
Um, there's the story starring Anthony Hopkins as a priest who gets possessed. I forget the
Right.
name of that. That's a true story. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know
That
that.
that's a true story. That's
Wow.
frightening. Very
Yeah.
frightening.
Yeah.
Um, but I'd have to still put The Exorcist as the top, even though it was loosely
Mhm.
based on a true story.
Mhm.
Those things happen. I've talked to enough exorcists in my life and have known a lot of them that have told me some of the things they've experienced and
Mhm.
and seen to know that. And I know William Peter Blatty did his research.
Well, of course he did.
He
Yeah.
knew that stuff
Yeah.
he put in the movie, those things happen. I've walked into homes here in Vegas where the AC unit is broken and it's 115 degrees outside, and you go
Mhm.
into a room and you can see your breath. I've seen
Yeah.
that.
Ugh.
I've seen levitation, not like they had in The Exorcist, but I remember one exorcism I took authority over with a girl. She was stuck in a wheelchair. She could barely move her upper torso. That was it. And she's in this wheelchair. And there were times where the wheelchair would come up off the ground and maybe even turn a little
Wow.
bit, set back down, or roll around back and forth on its own, where her feet weren't even, or her hands weren't touching the wheels.
Mhm.
I guess you would consider objects being thrown at you as levitation, which I've
Yeah.
seen that, but all that stuff, he did his research and that stuff does happen. So
Yeah.
I tell
It
people all
definitely
the
a
time,
gem.
be careful. Don't, you see some of these demonologists go in religious provocation, a holy water bottle's ablazing, you know, uh, I'm telling you, if you're not careful, a demon will just chew you up, spit you out, and snuff your life out in a blink of an eye. They are extremely powerful, and they're older than time itself. They're fallen angels. Come
Mhm.
on, these things battled God for supremacy before they got defeated.
They've been
So
around.
who are
Yeah.
us? I mean,
Yeah.
and they hate us because
Right.
God loves us so much and He created us in His image. They hate
Mhm.
us.
Right. Right.
So just got to be careful, man. You just got to
I
really,
understand.
really be careful.
Well, Reverend, thank you for the guidance. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for giving us all this information. Thank you for doing what you do. Honestly, I mean,
Well,
it's.
Will, I missed you
I missed you
I
too.
saw your face and your invitation to come and show. I almost started crying because I hadn't, I got so involved in things. My original Facebook page got hacked,
Yes, I heard about that.
and so now
Horrible.
I'm on Facebook under Lawrence Morais, Sean Patrick Whittington in parentheses. If
Hmm.
anybody of my friends are watching, who were my friends on the other profile and don't know what happened to me, that's where I'm at now on Facebook. But when I saw your face and saw your invitation, I almost started crying because please forgive me, I almost had forgotten about you,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it had been so long, but I just had such good memories of you, and you're such a cool dude. I love you. I respect you.
Love you too, Reverend.
Not everybody does what you do as good as you do it, so you keep doing what you do. And I
Appreciate
was
that.
just so honored and pleased and genuinely happy that you invited me on. And I was
Oh man.
so sorry I had to cancel last week. I was just
Oh no, please no.
emotionally devastated over the loss of a pet.
Yes, I
And
know that's
so,
horrible.
but
Yeah.
it is what
Yeah.
it is. But thank you for having me back on, and
No,
I had a
thank you,
great
Reverend.
time.
Thank you, Reverend. We'll have to have you back on definitely in the future. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us tonight. And again, you can go to gospeakon.biz and check out all of Reverend Shawn Whittington is his information there and all his stuff, his books. Of course, you can catch the TV show Eli Roth presents the Legion of Exorcists. You check that out. Again, one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. Reverend, thank you so much. I really appreciate
God
it.
bless you, brother. God bless your
God bless you.
audience.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.